Recording 6. I found a photograph this morning that I need to document before I do anything else tonight. I wasn't at 47 Marginal Road when I found it. It was in the archive materials here, in a folder I've been through twice before. It wasn't in there the first 2 times. I'm certain of that because the folder contained 4 items, and I cataloged them both times. Tonight it contained 5. The new photograph is the one I need to talk about. It's dated on the reverse in the same handwriting as the photograph I've been working with, the one with 47 Marginal Road written on the back. Same pen pressure, same capital M. The date reads 1905. That's the only information on the reverse. No location, no name, nothing else. The front of the photograph shows 47 Marginal Road, in ruins. I've been sitting with that for 20 minutes before starting this recording. The building in the image is the same building I've been entering for weeks. The northeast corner is identifiable. Same proportions, same roofline, same relationship to the adjacent structure on the left side of the frame. It is unambiguously 47 Marginal Road. And in this photograph taken in 1905, the walls are partially collapsed. The upper left section of the facade has fallen inward. The windows on the ground floor are gone. Not broken, gone. The frame's empty and dark. There's debris across the front approach, timber and masonry, the kind of material that accumulates after a structure has been abandoned for some time, rather than immediately after a single event. The building I entered 2 nights ago was intact. The building in this photograph is not. Either the photograph is fabricated, deliberately altered or misdated, or 47 Marginal Road was in ruins in 1905 and is standing now, which means either the date is wrong or the building was rebuilt. And if it was rebuilt, there should be a record of that reconstruction somewhere that I haven't found. I'm going to 47 Marginal Road tonight to look for a letter I have reason to believe is there. That's the objective. I need to find it before I spend more time theorizing about a photograph I don't yet have context for. The reason I believe there's a letter is the device. After the recording ended 2 nights ago, after the device went dark and the sound started behind the unmarked door, I turned the handle. The room beyond was empty, smaller than I expected, maybe 8 feet square, no furniture, no documents on the walls. Just a single shelf on the far wall at chest height, and on that shelf a metal box, flat, the kind used for document storage. No lock. I opened it. Inside was a letter, single page, folded twice. The paper was heavier than standard correspondence paper. Document weight, the kind that holds up to handling. The ink was faded, but legible. I read the first 2 paragraphs before I heard footsteps from the floor below, and I put the letter back in the box and left. I should have taken it. I know that. I'm not explaining the decision. I'm documenting that I made it and that I'm going back to correct it tonight. What I read in those 2 paragraphs, the letter describes an experiment conducted at 47 Marginal Road. It uses the phrase temporal intersections, the same phrase from the second witness's journal, verbatim. It names the building specifically. And it references consequences the writer describes as unintended and irreversible, without specifying what those consequences were. That letter and the 1905 photograph were produced or placed by the same system. I don't have evidence for that yet, but the correspondence is too close to ignore. I'm in the filing room. It's just past midnight. The building has been quiet since I entered. I went upstairs first to check the unmarked door on the landing. It's still there, still unmarked, nothing added to the surface since 2 nights ago. I tried the handle, locked. The room that was accessible 2 nights ago is no longer accessible tonight, which means either the lock engages from inside and something inside engaged it, or the door operates on conditions I don't understand yet. The metal box is presumably still on the shelf in there. The letter is presumably in the box. I can't get to either of them tonight, so I'm adjusting. The 1905 photograph is on the table in front of me, and I'm going to work backward from what I have. The photograph, I've been examining it under the lamp for the past 15 minutes. The image quality is consistent with the period, gelatin silver print, the kind of photographic process common between 1880 and 1930. The paper base has the right level of yellowing and edge brittleness for something approximately 120 years old. If this is a fabrication, it's an extremely well-executed one. I want to be specific about the damage visible in the image because I think the specifics matter. The upper left section of the facade has collapsed inward, not outward, which would suggest explosion or impact, but inward, which suggests structural failure over time. The kind of collapse that happens when a building is left without maintenance for years and the internal supports give way. The roof above that section is partially visible and it's intact, which means the collapse happened from the wall rather than from above. That's consistent with prolonged neglect rather than a single catastrophic event. The ground floor windows are gone entirely. Not broken, the frames are empty. No glass on the approach, no splinter marks on the sill edges. Those windows were removed or fell out long before this photograph was taken, and whatever process removed them left the surroundings clean. Vegetation has grown into the lower left window opening. I can see the edge of what looks like a climbing plant, established deeply enough to fill the lower third of the frame. That kind of growth takes years, possibly decades. The debris across the front approach is masonry and timber in roughly equal measure. The masonry matches the current building's brick, same dimensions, same mortar lines. The timber pieces are large and structural, the kind of beam that comes from a floor or a load-bearing interior wall. Whatever fell from inside. The building in this photograph was not damaged recently when the photograph was taken. It had been in this state for a long time before 1905. There's a crescent mark on the surface. I expected this after the pattern I've been tracking, but the placement is different from the marks on the other photograph. On the 47 Marginal Road exterior photograph, the one I've been working with since recording one, the crescent marks are positioned across the lower half of the image, corresponding to locations in the frame. The mark on this photograph is in the upper right corner, outside the frame content entirely. Not pointing to anything in the image. I think it's pointing to something outside the image, a direction rather than a location. I don't know what direction yet because I don't know how to orient this mark relative to a map. The debris in the photograph. I've been trying to identify the nature of the collapse. The masonry pattern in the fallen section of the facade is consistent with the current building's construction. Same brick dimensions, same mortar lines. That's either confirmation that this is the same building or an extremely precise fabrication. I keep coming back to the same question, and I don't have a way to answer it from the photograph alone. What I can say, if this photograph is authentic and accurate, then 47 Marginal Road as it exists now, the intact building I've been entering, should not exist. The building in this photograph is not damaged in a way that suggests repair. It's damaged in a way that suggests abandonment followed by extended exposure. The archive contains a record of something that contradicts current reality. That's what the second witness's journal said the archive does. I've been here for about 2 hours when the power goes out. Not a flicker. Immediate. The lamp cuts, the ambient hum from the building's old wiring cuts with it, and the room goes completely dark. I have a flashlight. I turned it on and held still. Then I turned it off again. If someone was in the building with me, I didn't want to advertise my position. I stood in the dark against the wall and listened. The building settles constantly. It's old enough that the timber frame makes small adjustments throughout the night, contractions and expansions that produce sounds similar enough to footsteps that I've learned not to react to them. What I was listening for was rhythm. Footsteps have a rhythm that building noise doesn't. I heard it after about 10 seconds. Ground floor, moving from the direction of the records room toward the filing room staircase. Even pace. Someone who had walked this route before and knew which boards to avoid. I pressed myself against the wall beside the door at the base of the stairs and waited. I was trying to breathe quietly. I'm not sure I succeeded. The footsteps reached the landing above and stopped. Then the whisper. Low, close, directly above me on the landing. I couldn't make out words. The cadence was wrong for conversation, too even, too rhythmic. It sounded like someone reading quietly to themselves. Not distressed, not urgent, patient, almost. The sound of someone working through a document. I didn't move. I counted the seconds. The whisper lasted approximately 20 seconds and then stopped without trailing off. It simply ended, mid-cadence, as if a page had run out. Footsteps again, retreating, the same measured rhythm going out as coming in, back toward the records room. Then nothing. I waited another 10 minutes in the dark before I turned my flashlight back on. The silence was complete except for the building's own sounds, and I'd stopped noticing those. When the lights came back, I found something I hadn't noticed before the outage. On the desk beside the 1905 photograph, the desk where I'd set down my notes, there was a pocket watch. Resting directly on top of my notes, which means it was placed there while I was standing against the wall in the dark. It wasn't there when I arrived. It wasn't there when the power cut. Someone walked through this room while I was standing 6 feet away and put a pocket watch on my notes. The watch is running. The hands point to 3 minutes past midnight. That's consistent with the current time. I check my phone. The glass is cracked across the face, a single diagonal line from the upper left to the lower right, but the mechanism is working. The case is tarnished silver, no engravings on the exterior. I open the case. On the interior of the back cover, engraved in small, precise lettering, a crescent mark, and below it, the number 2. I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking about the cassette in the room beyond door 47 with the number 4 pressed into the shell. The numbered crescent marks on the wall maps. The sequence I've been trying to read. This is the second numbered object I've found. The cassette was 4. This watch is 2. I don't have 1 and 3 yet. I'm holding the watch and the 1905 photograph side by side, and I want to note something before I lose the thought. The photograph shows the building as it was, or as it might have been, in 1905. The watch was placed in this room tonight by someone who knew I was here, knew where I was standing, and moved through the room without making enough noise for me to detect them. Those two things are connected. I don't have the connection yet, but the watch was left deliberately, and the photograph appeared in the archive materials deliberately, and the archive does not produce coincidences. The letter in the metal box behind the locked door used the phrase temporal intersections. I need to get back into that room. I'm putting the watch in my pocket. I'm taking the 1905 photograph with me. I have the key labeled 47, and it opened the door to the back room on the first try. I need to find out if the same key opens the unmarked door on the landing or if there's a different mechanism. I'm heading upstairs now. Landing. The unmarked door. I'm putting the key in. There's a keyhole. I didn't notice it before because it's positioned low on the door, below where I was looking. The key fits. The door opens. The room is exactly as I left it 2 nights ago. Shelf on the far wall. Metal box on the shelf. I cross to the shelf and open the box, and the box is open in my hands, and I cannot see what is inside.